Now the goal here is a real goal, and I don't want to leave the impression that I'm just not learning anything or learning very little here. I'm learning a lot about these 16-inch props, and every time I learn something about props, and what I'm going to do when I get home is see what the pitch in all three of these are, because wood props, there definitely is no two wood props the same. And it's easy to change the pitch. It's not a problem. In fact, I want to look at this. This one already has I don't know why, maybe I put it in there. It already has a lot of Phillips entry in it. But we always would like to have one prop like this. In fact, maybe I'll keep this one. Have one prop just for the possibility that we're going to. And what I'll do is I'll mark on here, because these are all, and I have a stick with all the ones that are tested. This one is relatively fast. But it's always good to have one that's fast. That's always one of the things I'd like to have in my little kit here. So these two we'll put back in the van for now. And the reason I'm using this one is chipped out at the tip, and I rebalanced it. And I figured I didn't want to I have another twin to this that's exactly the same, but I didn't want to get it all chewed up. And I thought as long as I'm flying here with T-Rex and everything the other day, I don't want to chew up any of the really shouldn't say good props, but I'd like to, when we're finished at this field and we have to go to Circle Burner Field, at least have one or two choices. Now here's a thought. I'll bet this prop, I guarantee you, when we have to start flying at the Circle Burner Field where the air is coming over the trees, this will be a good choice. So I'm not going to complain about that. I'll probably do the Brookings paint test, mark it up as a fast prop, keep it for hot weather or maybe Circle Burner air. And I have some of the props marked for Circle Burners. And the only problem is, and this prop is the closest one I have to that, it's a little fast in this early morning air. And then when it got a couple of days, it got to be really hot out here. It just started getting wimpy about 75 degrees. So I know at 85, it's going to get real wimpy. And see, what I don't want to do is change the engine RPM. I don't want to get it to where, oh, well, there's no problem. We'll just run the engine harder or whatever. Don't want to do that. I'm real happy with the RPM that this engine is at right now. It's right about where I like it. And it's got the sound. The most important thing with this plane, it's got the sound that I like. It doesn't have the sound of a smaller engine running fast. It has the sound of a big engine running slow, like a Griffin would or a Merlin or a nice deep growl. Now obviously not everybody likes that. Some people like tuned pipes, some like electrics. But for this particular plane, that sound is part of it. Now I'm not so sure because I got the whole field to myself. The only thing is that sun. Oh. Well, you got to look right into that sun on a wing overpull, and the minute you go off to the side, the air starts getting crazy, the wind catches it, it's a little counterproductive. But if the wind gets any worse, what I'll do is I'll take the old Avant out of the car. Just for the exercise. And boy, do I need the exercise. No counterpoint to when it needs the exercise. As if we didn't have enough to worry about. Look at this, I got the news chopper up here, hovering and checking me out. Now, I hope I'm not on the evening news here. They used to do this at our old field. They'd get bored and just fly real low over the field to see what's going on. And they can ruin your wing over. Look at this. Unbelievable. It's just, T-Rex goes and his brother, the pterodactyl, comes in. Well, you know what? I gotta wait until he leaves. You can't. You start the plane, and he's gonna really ruin my whole day. I can't believe it. It's just never a time you can just enjoy a pleasant afternoon of flying. It's unbelievable. He's up there for 10 minutes already. I don't know what the hell to do. Whether to wait it out? I'm going to wait it out because these morons get real low and they blow stuff all over the place. Unbelievable. I can't believe this. I've been waiting here for about 10 or 15 minutes. I had a cup of coffee, cleaned the windshield in the van, and he's still checking out the Spitfire. Oh man. I hope I'm on the evening news. Unbelievable. I'm gonna wait it out because you know what's happened in the past? When these guys hang around and then as soon as you take off, they get lower and lower. They want to see what's going on. I guess they don't have a telephoto, God forbid they buy a telephoto lens or something. But I have hit a time and place in my life where there's just no peace. I'm at war with this field, I'm at war with T-Rex, and at war with the helicopter. And I'm losing. I'm gonna wait it out, I don't care. And there's what I'm doing my wingo. You come out of a wingover right into the sun. Right into the sun. It's just uncanny. Right into the sun. What a crybaby I'm turning out to be. It's unbelievable. People wouldn't believe this. Look, they're still up there. And I'm going to ruin their day. I'm not going to fly until I leave. Right? Of course right, Wendy. Yeah, they're up there. They're probably having a cup of coffee. I'm probably on the evening news like I'm a terrorist or something. Unbelievable. Well, they hung around for quite a while. Goodbye. I'm not sure what that... I'll have to watch the evening news and see what that's all about. But there have been times when they've stayed here 10, 15 minutes and we've missed flights and everything. And the engine's cooled off in the time I'm waiting. Well, we didn't get anything off the tripod except sunlight. But anyway, we really did have a productive day with the props. That's coming together. I guess we should be happy about that. And little by little by little, we're getting comfortable. That wind is really starting to blow all over the place here, though. And so I have chosen to live to fight another day. Oh no. Oh no, the commuter train is coming to get me. Oh no, say it isn't so. I'll be good. Oh, anything but the commuter train. Oh no. Heaven forbid. The commuter train is back. Now tonight I wanted to take some time. I wanted to get the 4 coats of wax on this. This is a raw mold. Never had a part pulled out of it. And the first time it's suggested 4 coats of wax an hour apart. I'm going to be down here about 3 or 4 hours. But if I can get 1 coat on, and what I do is once I get 1 coat on, let it dry about 5 minutes, and I use microfibers. Polish it up as much as I can. It's a long, tedious job. And then I'll be ready to either late tonight get the first PVA on, or first thing in the morning, depending on if we stay up, burn the midnight oil. But here's the problem: they're predicting a couple of days of bad weather. We certainly had a bad day today. That air was just terrible for flying. I know Mikey Palco flew his electric, and again he had some rough air, and we exchanged some emails about. When we can get some pictures of that for Control Line World, get his ship on. But this is tedious, this is labor intensive, and there's no way to make it easy or quick that I know of. You can't use a buffing wheel, you've got to basically sit here and polish this out. And each time, and what I found is, and this was Ed Gallagher who originally gave me this information is all these little corners and edges and angles they should be polished as much as possible. They don't look real polished, but when you get the PVA on there, you want to get a nice smooth coat only so the part releases. We're going to do final sanding and shaping, but hopefully to get that part released. And then microfibers, the best way I've found, and it's just labor intensive. In fact, you can only do, it's almost like buffing out a plane. But what I try to do is, you know, get something good on TV. And by the way, I got a first run copy, first run, not a bootleg copy, of Catch 22 with all those B-25s. Oh my God. Does that make a day go by, a rainy day go by? Or, and as an example of while you're doing this kind of work, you don't need to look at the part while you're doing the polishing. You know, I just want to show this one little spot. I'm going to do one blade area here until I get a little bit of a... And you might think that the idea of this is to leave as much wax on as possible. Absolutely not. The idea is to get the wax on and get it all off. You don't want to leave a big chewing. You see how this stuff's all coming off? It's taking some of the primer off as I polish it. But to get it nice and smooth, I bet this is the part Doran loves the most. Poor Doran, he hates to clean that mold of his. I know that when he makes props. And Doran, we hate to clean it too. But anyway, you get some microfibers, some of this wax, and this is the wax that we've found works well, works the best for us. Hard oil high temperature wax, especially where the blade ends. That's where they tend to hang up all the time and have little issues. Now, what's real important about this mold, I've been checking, I've got a nice ridge around the whole prop blade except for the end. So when we go to lay this up, this should really make for a nice part. It should really be something special, I hope. And of course, like everything in life, we're going to find out. Now, in case I hadn't mentioned this before, maybe I have already a few times. When you wash these, the trick is after you wax, put these in a washing machine, but put them in separately, only microfibers. If you put these in with regular clothes, it makes all kind of gumballinis, and of course the microfibers grab onto everything. So, but boy, it does a great job of waxing. And this, now let's see if you can see one of these blades. This is only the first coat of wax, but it's really starting to, and as I get the second and third coat on this, there'll be a little bit of a polish. Then what I'm going to do is set up the gun to spray the PVA, because it's such a big area. And if there's sunshine, that PVA cooks real nice. If it isn't, you just let it dry overnight. But I want to get a thick layer of PVA in here. I don't want this all building up with big globs of epoxy, because what'll happen is I'll have to clean it. That's the problem. Okay, it looks like what we're going to get tonight. We're going to stay up and finish the polishing on this and get one coat of PVA. And hopefully in the morning, if it's not a flyable day, we'll make a prop. We'll get our second coat. We really want to have 2 coats of PVA on here. Yeah, if you try to put it on all at once, it just makes puddles and ridges, and I think it's just better to have 2 or 3, maybe even 3 thin coats. So you can see how the PVA puddles kind of down in there. So I didn't want to put it on too thick. I'd rather put, probably even 3 coats on there. But that does have to dry up. Now, if we had that bright sunny day, which apparently we're never going to get. But it doesn't matter, because right now, we worked late enough tonight. That's going to dry overnight. And we're just going to see if we have if we have to get on a commuter train tomorrow, or if we're going to go flying. Boy, I wish we could get a day when you could fly stun patterns and not be in fear of what T-Rex is coming, or the geese, or the oh, I don't even know. I don't even know. Every day is an adventure. The adventure of the 2008 Spitfire. What an adventure it's been so far. I guess we really did work later tonight than I thought we would. But you know what? It's going to pay off. What a beautiful sunset. But you know what? They're predicting not a real nice day tomorrow. And that's the problem, see?
Talk is cheap. We need good weather tomorrow when I wake up. We'll see what God has in store. Well, we're here really nice and early. Look at that sunrise. We're up with the chickens, literally. Now when it's this cold in the morning, I'll take my jacket. And I can imagine, I'll bet poor Richard Oliver would be out here. Oh, windy. Rich, you're right, I'm freezing. Holy mackerel. Now, within the next couple of days, and we already have some of the PVA on the 4-blade mold, so I wanted to really do two things here today. We may have 2 more days, gotta watch out, 2 more days of flying on the 2 blades, because as soon as I get those big 4 blades out of the mold, I want to start working with them and make a pitch gauge and whatever. But we certainly have used this time. We've got 1 2-blade that's a little on the soft side, would be good right now, in fact. In fact, maybe I ought to change the prop before we fly. Then we got 2 of these that are a match set, that are right in the middle, right about, I guess, about as good as you can get for just taking a wood prop off the shelf. And then we got the one guy we haven't painted yet, that's fast. Now when we paint that one, and as soon as I get the paint from Bobby Brookins, which should be there today in fact, then what I'm going to try to do is just line these up on a prop stick for any of the time I want to use 2-bladed props. Now the advantage of the 2-bladed prop here, right now it's lighter than the 4-blade by some, by a little bit anyway. Not sure that's ever going to matter for us, but it's always nice to know you have that choice. As soon as the sun comes up, maybe we'll even get to choose one. Okay, the air density, just want to record it for Rich Oliver's benefit. Cold. Real good air density, around 98. I don't even want to guess what this is. Somebody dumped this last night, some kind of nuclear waste. Look at this. Jeez. Start the day off with a smile. What a mess. Anyway, it's cold out here. We're flying. I got my extra shirt on and my extra cup of coffee, and I'm still freezing. Must be Christmas. There's snow on the field. I don't know what that is. I'm afraid to touch it. It looks like nuclear waste or something. You never get through a day here without something crazy happening. I want to get some flights. I'm hoping that hope of all hopes that I may even be able to see the sun. At first I bitched that the sun's in my eyes. Now there's no sun.
No, it's so. It's funny. It's so early. Normally, at this time in the morning, the problem that you have at this field that we have is pretty simple. The sun is right in your eyes, right where you want to do the maneuvers. Well, today it's just a little bit different. There's no sun. I don't know what you would call it. Overcast, foggy. Oh, it's not foggy. But actually, with this plane, the visibility is good against the background. But I'd sure hate to be flying the Tiger Cat or a dark plane or a camo Spitfire this morning. That could really be a problem. Anyway, one of the objectives here with this prop, these are on mid props, is to see if I can, just by needling back a little bit, get enough range that even in this cold air, and it's cold here, and the air density is 98. So what happens here is everything just works better than it would say if you were in warmer weather, thinner air. But boy, is it fun. The only problem is it's cold. This would not be Richard Oliver's first choice to be out here today. But Rich, it's worth it. It's worth it being a tough guy. And no T-Rex today. No T-Rex. Can you imagine? A flying field without construction going on. What a unique idea. They've left some of their construction stuff here, but I don't see any of their the worker bees. Listen to those birds in between flights. Oh my God. The birds are out to get me. Now listen, engine. You're supposed to be a one flipper. You're supposed to be a penguin. This being hot and not wanting to start's gotta go. Now it can't be my fault. It's gotta be your fault. Actually, when I'm flying alone with a stooge, this thing never cools off. We're not here to cool off. We're here to do work, baby. Actually, I never thought I'd say it, but I miss the sun. It's really dark. It's dismal. Nuclear winter. But fortunately, this paint job does show up well against the dark backgrounds and all the things like this. But I could remember the old Tiger Cat. You wouldn't be flying that until the sun came up. When that black went behind the trees, all you saw was white number 5 going around the circle. Now here's a trick. You have to learn to talk to your motor. Now listen, motor. It's okay if you don't start on the first flip. But don't make a fool of me on video. Richard Oliver doesn't go for that stuff. Or you're going back to Texas. Or even worse, we'll put you in the Stuka. Oh, he didn't start right up again. Oh, he's in a bad mood this morning.
about as good as it gets. The ducks are duckling, eh? They all have ducklings. Anyway, I'm exhausted. And what I've really come to the conclusion of is this, and this thing is running really consistently, is the red prop. Both of these red props that we have to match to the 16 4.5 have a pitch that will work off a pitch gauge and pitch these first 4 blades that we're going to make up. We'll get them pitched to that pitch to start with. Obviously it will change as time goes by or as the temperature changes. It's still cold out here. This is very unusual. Quiet, ducks. When I'm talking, you guys be quiet. Anyway, it just couldn't be any better than this. And of all the days we've had to fight the sun, look at this. No sun. Well, I guess there's good news and bad news. Now, one of the things I did today, I wanted to do today, I'm going to do it right now. I have an extra set of lines from Ken Tyser. In fact, I have 2. And I wanted to get an extra handle adjusted and flown maybe 3 or 4 flights or whatever, just so that the objective is, if we ever have somebody step on the lines, which you know how conveniently that happens, what I wanted to have the option of is just go to the box and take out another set of lines with another handle already adjusted. Because one of the things with my idiosyncrasies is I really go crazy when I can't get the handle adjusted. It just, I do it in little tiny amounts. In fact, you know what? I ought to try filling up the fuel jug here. Isn't this unbelievable? He runs out of fuel. I gotta go get some fuel. It's almost unbelievable. I thought it never emptied. I guess I was daydreaming yesterday. I had this fantastic idea the other day that I was going to get to Brodax or somewhere and somebody steps on your lines, and it has happened to me. In fact, it happened at the Nats at a very, I should say, a very inconvenient time, to say the least. It just couldn't be more inconvenient than that. You know, as long as we're doing this, I may as well show this little thing that I've been doing. I've been taking a coffee filter and just straining the fuel as I put it into the can. And what's happened, this is fuel that has sat over the winter and it has that little white cottony stuff in the filter every once in a while. This gets rid of most of it. Most of it, some of it, all of it, I'm not sure. It's a good little trick if you wind up with some of that little cotton in the filter. Usually you'll see it in the filter in the pump, and we've changed that, of course. But the sooner you can get it out of the fuel, of course, the better it is. Yeah, I guess the last time I was flying, I just fell asleep at the switch. I was tired or something. Maybe T-Rex was attacking me, I don't know. But anyway, this does get rid of some of the, I guess, the little stuff that contaminates the fuel. We have to recycle cans by our house. And here's a good idea: when you're done, throw the filter away. Don't try to reuse it. Just waiting for the last couple of drops to go down here. And even if you don't have to do it, if there's no downside to doing it, I'm just getting the last few drops out here. And if there's nothing in the fuel, and I found that it's usually when fuel sits, well, in my garage over the winter, which is the case with this fuel, that becomes a little bit of an issue, and that can go in garbage. And we're not going to have a long session today. It's pretty simple. Why? Because it looks like it's not going to, the weather's not going to hold up. But I have found, for sure, you got to fill it. It doesn't fill by itself overnight. Boy, if there ever was, it just reminded me of something that I
guess is funny now, but it wasn't funny years ago. Years ago, I would typically take 1 gallon of fuel to the field with me because we're using Taffender fuel. And if I flew a gallon of Taffender fuel in a Tiger 60, I thought, wow, I'm a macho guy. I'm all ready to roll and everything. Well, there was only one problem. Every once in a while, and it would be maybe once a month at least, I'd get to the field and I'd look in the jug and I'd have enough for 1 flight or 2 flights or whatever. And then I said, I'm going to start carrying a gallon of fuel with me, an extra gallon, like I'm a big spender. Well, you know what? Now I carry 2 or 3 gallons with me, and you can see in that last, and I didn't make that up like just to have a joke on the video. That really happens. That's, at my age, I'm lucky anything happens. Well, it looks like we got some air. It looks a little bit dead. I don't know if we're going to get a tripod on. No T-Rex. Probably be a boring session. I don't know. We'll find out. But I have a brand new set of lines and another handle. Now, if I get this all adjusted and dialed into where I'm happy, then what I'll do is I'll put the original lines and handle on and leave them out in a circle and fly both back to back so I get the handle feel the same. I want it to feel exactly the same because some of these handles, when you put the grip tape on, they don't feel exactly the same. And I don't want to, the whole idea is so you can just put a handle on and go. even though this has been a crappy year. There's all the place. But one of the things I did get accomplished in the course of this, I have 2 handles, 2 sets of lines, and they feel the same. They have a very similar feel. So one handle, of course, I've got all painted up real pretty. When I get a rainy day, and it looks like it may rain any minute now, when I get a rainy day, I'll paint the other handle up and get a matching line reel, so we have 2 exact sets. Now, the thing I know, when you have a set like this, nobody will ever step on your lines. The minute you don't have the minute you don't have whatever, I've just found that is you're asking for trouble. But anyway, it looks like it's gonna rain any minute now. I'm not sure we should be sticking. I'm getting raindrops on me, you know. And you know what? I'm not gonna take a chance, because it's at this point in time, this plane so far is still pretty clean, and I don't want to have it get all water inside the take apart features or something. They would just quit while we're ahead. So it was nice having a spare. I'm going to make up another reel, and I'll get the feel of the handles. I'll get that real nice grip tape I don't have anymore. And then what I always do, I mark up the reels. I have another Chicky reel, but I wound up cracking it. So I'll have 2 sets. And that means for sure, what's the air density today? 95. That means for sure, and this is what I want to show somebody. It sounds like this wouldn't be a big deal. You know what? Everything in stunt is a big deal. And sometimes you can have 2 handles that have exactly the same line spacing, and here's what happens though. Let me just see if I can show this without letting go of the camera or whatever. I mean, the elevators are going to move the same amount. The spacing is the same, but a lot of times the feel, now see, I've taken a little bit of the tape off the handle here where it was rubbing. Just the way you squeeze your handle, that your hand doesn't slide up and down. If you have a sloppy fit on a handle, and your handle on one flight is sliding up, one is down, you never really make progress. But oh well, I found anything I have a spare part for is an insurance that I'm not going to need it. It's when I don't have it that it's a problem. Anyway, I think it's starting to rain. I feel a couple of drops. I think it's a good time to quit while we're ahead here. You know, I would have loved to get more flights today, but at least this way I won't have to refill the fuel jug next time we come down. Anyway, even a short session is better than being on that commuter train, that's for sure. Well, we certainly made the right move here. The raindrops are coming down, and we got out of here just in the nick of time. You know, and how many times I've said to myself, "Oh, one more flight." You take off. Soon as you release the plane out of the stooge, you're dead. And then the motor goes lean, and then the thing runs 25 minutes. There's our friend Doggy Boy. This is the guy. He just loves to walk out in the middle of the circle with the dog from time to time. Anyway, we beat the rain. I'm not sure if the rain won or we won, but we're gonna get back to the shop, try to get that prop laid up, get the rest of it. I still have maybe one more coat of PVA. I better not get too cute. It's another rainy day out there, and I guess we're not going to do any flying today, but in the course of doing other shop work, I got to watch the movie again. I got a first run copy of Catch-22, and there is just a few little scenes that I really think are special. If you've never seen the movie, I'll send you a copy for free. If you've seen it like I have 8-10 times, there's enough B-25 footage in that movie to choke a horse, to choke me. And on a day like today, the real Catch-22 of life. What do we do around the shop today? Oh, what a day. Listen to that. The birds are chirping this morning as we feed the fish. Listen, fish, I got a tough day ahead of me. We're going flying. You guys go swimming. What a day this is looking like it's going to be. Ooh. Now they said it's going to rain by lunchtime, but I've been getting up so early. Look at these sunrises. Ooh. And to be honest, I'm starting to like getting up this early in the morning. Get my flying done, get back. I want to lay up that prop mold today if I get time, but we've just had so many other things to do in the backyard here that, well, there's only so many hours in a day. By the time I fill all the bird feeders, Wendy, fill the feeders before you go flying. We don't care if you go flying, just fill the feeders. Look at this action. Hard to believe. What a great way to start the day. Birds, fish, and airliners, and commuter trains. But you think he's flying? We're going flying right now. Hey, and I hope you enjoyed those little outtakes of Catch-22. You know, I read that article about the Catch-22 that was in Warbirds and how they built the whole airport in Mexico, and they assembled 17. They wanted more. 17 B-25s in that movie. They cut one up to make a studio prop out of it. It was some interesting stuff, very interesting. The kind of stuff that anybody that likes, well, I think we all like Warbirds. Hard not to like them. But anyway, just thought you'd enjoy that. That is one of my favorite movies, and I never get sick of watching it. Look at this, the commuter train's beating us. The commuter train is actually beating us. I don't believe this. I always beat him here. Today he beat me. I guess I was sleeping at the switch a little bit this morning. Not sure. Anyway, beautiful downtown Rutherford. Here we go. Commuters getting ready to do their commute thing. Working on Wall Street, making all those big money. And here we are, no money, going flying. Oh, what's wrong with that picture? I'll take going flying. But anyway, I really do like that movie Catch-22. There's some sick humor in that. It's obviously a black comedy, but and that one B-25 that they made a pimp mobile out of for the general, I don't know if I could approve of that. Anyway, let's get off to the field here. Time is wasting, and it's going to rain this afternoon, so let's get this going. And I do the same ride every morning. I try to make this point that, oh, as we come around the corner into the sunlight, it's quite an adventure. Now this morning, it's really like, it's a little surreal. Well, it's like that opening scene in Catch-22 where the sun is coming up over the horizon and everything. It really is cool. But we want to fly. And it looks like we're going to have the best of all days. It's cold right now. It's supposed to go to 60, which means we'll get a nice big wide range of trim choices. It's dead air now, but it's supposed to get breezy. 10 to 15. We're gonna, and having a wide range is really nice. Because what it does, sometimes you get a setup that early in the morning in nice, relatively cool, nice air. Let's see, it's 96 on the air density. Something that works real well, whatever it is, and then you try it in the heat of the afternoon when you got your t-shirt on and your sunscreen, and all of a sudden it gets soft. And everybody I know that ever pursued this has run into that, whatever you want to call it. Now, one thing real nice so far, that I've been timing flights the last couple of sessions, just to see how consistent on a fuel burn this is. And it's within 5 seconds every time, at virtually every time. And what that's telling me, what it'd be real handy if you ever fly F2B or a team trial or something like that. That's real handy. That's as handy as can be. That it doesn't have wild swings. It kind of stays consistent. And that's, well, that's for sure some kind of an advantage anyway. I'm not sure what, some kind of an advantage.
This is the kind of morning I'm when I brought my coffee. Catch 22, baby. Anyway, any day we get flights. Listen to that commuter train in the background. You think there's a message there? I don't know why I dwell on that. Hey, it was many years, for anybody that doesn't know. I got on that train, tried to sleep on a train, tried to sleep on the bus. Hour and a half each way. Horrible. Horrible. I really do feel sorry for people that have to do that. Sometime Karen and I are having pizza, and trackside pizza, and the train pulls in, and those people at 8:30 get off, and it looks like they've been through the mill. Unbelievable. Anyway, it looks like we're going to have us a decent day. It's hard to even predict where the air is. It's hard to find the air. It's a little bit. And that's when it's really dangerous. Actually, that's when Danny lost the Vista, was in this kind, exactly this kind of air, because you're going through your own turbulence. It feels like it's not there, and then all of a sudden, there it is. Not funny. Really not that funny. All right, Mr. Rojet. Let's get some flights here before it rains. What's the rain? Please let me cool off between flights. No way. Well, it is just surreal. I'm getting spoiled. No T-Rex. Nobody. I don't know where all these other wild hogs are. They went to wild hog retirement. I know Rich is working on his house every day, and John's trying to put the clear on his new plane, or his refinished plane. So what it really does, it really gives me a great window of time to fly here. I'm not letting you cool off either. Actually, when it's red hot like this, when it really is tricky to get the starting routine down. As soon as you let it cool, but I don't want to let it cool. See, I want to get more flights. Because he really did say it was going to rain this afternoon, and it's been so unpredictable. So when I do get a day like this, I hate to even miss minutes, let alone flights. And of course, we're flying right into the sun. There's no way that sun is my friend right now. The other day it was cloudy, I was complaining. Now the sun is there, I'm complaining. What a, I guess I'm just a crybaby. As Karen says, stop crying. Damn. Now, is he going to be a good boy and hot restart, or is he going to be precipitous? Look that word up. See, you're going back to Texas, where all bad Rojets go when they don't start hot. But do I mind? Do I lose my sense of humor? Do I talk to my motor? Sure. Unreal.
Now, one thing that worked out extremely well this morning, and in this air, as the sun's getting higher and higher in the sky here, one thing in this air, because there's no real well, no real wind yet. It's just dead and swirly at the same time. But what I was able to do is swap the lines and handle between flights. And well, I've gotten to the point now where I've got 2 sets of lines and 2 handles adjusted. They feel exactly the same. In fact, if I'm going to paint this one to match the first one, so I'll have a match set, of course, knowing that I got to do. I always have to have these little accoutrements, as Karen calls them. But I always do like having these little things that match the plane and whatever, little Ferrari emblems and such. But that sun is murder. That sun is really difficult to deal with early in the morning because it's right where your pullouts are coming from. And well, but in the case of things like this, I wanted to get that handle, and it's amazing. It's just a little adjustment up or down, and you take off in a plane, something's wrong. And I know I'm more sensitive to that than most people. Billy Suarez and I were talking one day. If I went out to his handle while he was flying and wrapped 6 layers of masking tape around it, he'd pick it up and so would I, by the way. And I don't know why it takes me so long to get comfortable with a handle. And that's why it's important for me, and one of my personal little idiosyncrasies, to have 2 handles and 2 lines all set and ready to go. Not, oh, if I need them, I'll just hook up another handle and then the wing over pullout is a little crooked. No, it's easier to do it on a morning. Well, I did it yesterday, but test flight them both. When you're all done, hey, in fact, this I even made an extra reel. So we got them, I got my little Squadron 41 Spitfire reel. And any of this little maintenance I can do now, I'm just 1 step ahead, as opposed to waiting until the last minute to do it. Now, because I was just watching Catch 22 the last couple of days, I'm sitting here and in between flights, having a cup of coffee and thinking, this is how much more like Catch 22, that opening scene in Catch 22. How much more could it be? That's, I don't know. I guess if you're a real modeler, these things matter. If you're not, they don't matter at all. But to me, they matter. And I've spoken to many people that at the end of a flying session, the end of a day, in fact, I do it between flights, just walk around the model, look at it and say, oh, Dave Downey, Joe Adamusco, Bob Brookins, John Cafaro, everybody that's had a little part to play in the design and certainly Rich Walbridge with his photos. A lot of people combine talents to bring this to the flying field today. Anyway, I'm going to finish this coffee and get some more flying. It's looking like we're going to have a great day, not a rainy day. But that could change in a minute. Now, as this day played out, it's a little unusual, not typical. Usually by now, the temperature would have changed quite a bit more. It went from about 45 this morning, and it's 60 right now. In a couple of hours, it's gone up 15 degrees, at least on my little thermometer anyway. But again, so unpredictable, you never can tell. But any day you have a big temperature swing or a big air density swing, I think you get more out of the session. You get to fly under different conditions. Very soon we're going to be flying at a different field, which really changes everything too. But I mean, that's how you get a broad base of experience for doing this. I guess if you flew like in a perfect field under perfect conditions all the time, I'm not sure you'd learn that quickly. Maybe you wouldn't learn at all. Maybe I'm not learning at all. That's of course in the eye of the beholder. In the eye of T-Rex. Anyway, T-Rex here. Doggy Boys. If you look in the background, our friend Doggy Boy is here. Now Doggy Boy, I'm not sure his intentions are pristine, but he does take little tours. A little tour out to see Wendy and ask him, is that on wire? No. Like a mother hen here, chicks. Speaking of chicks, we saw our first fledgies today. The fledgies have fledged. Saw them this morning when I was feeding the birds. It is a joy at this part of this time of the year. Fledgies. Fledgidoolies. How you doing? Doggy Boy's going in the other direction today. Not so sure he got the picture. Now what I try to do every year, maybe this is going to be a good day to do it too. I try to wait for a day when the air is like it is now. It's almost dead, but it's moving enough that every maneuver I got to figure out where it's going to be, and if I feel any turbulence, I got to back right up. But when I've tried to, maybe we'll do it right now. What I've tried to show people is in dead air, of course, where you can make a gain. Now, when I've showed an example, Mike Kajeski, we're flying at the Circle Burner Field in dead air. What Mike was doing was this, just backing up constantly. What you really, or what I do, and what I do is I videotape without people knowing it, other people who I really respect their flying, and in a maneuver, in a round loop, I'm backing up only in the front half, where it's going from 6 o'clock to 12. Then I'm stopped. Then I'm backing up from only on that upswing of the loop. Now that's one thing. The other thing is on the inside squares, and at this field it's downright dangerous. I mean, if you've looked at any of these flights and not fast forwarded through them, I try to fly everything at 6 feet because there's always that chance that I'm going to go through my own turbulence and the plane's going to drop, especially on a triangle or on the hourglass pullout. But what's going to happen very soon, I'm going to have to start practicing bottoms. And I always like to get comfortable enough with the plane, and I don't like to start doing it on a day like today when the air is dead. Because when you're going through your own turbulence and you're at 4 feet, you're really getting risky. But it's that, what I'm going to do is and I've done this a million times before, and it benefits me. I set the camera up so it just focuses on me. And I can see, for instance, in the wing over, what I'm doing. I've had a nightmare trying to straighten out the overhead 8. And every time I've changed my body position, it gets worse, so I don't know where that's going. But we're still at the point where we got to back up during the up part of the maneuver. Same thing with the outsides. Only from 6 to 12 am I backing up. Let it go around. So it's like 3 hitches. And I found out that when I videotaped other people, especially people who fly better than me, they all have figured that out. So that's something I probably could pass on easily. Another thing that I found is, like on the triangles, if you're in doubt that you're going to go through your own air, say on the first one it goes through, but you know the air is dead, why take a chance? Just take that backup step on that upturn, take the backup step. Nothing bad is going to happen. You never get in trouble unless the wind changes 180 degrees.
what's going on over here now? Check it out. We got something illegal going on here now. Now hold on 1 second. Maybe this is the guy dumping the toxic waste here. I don't know. He's just dumping stuff there. Just dump it and go. Unbelievable. You know what? When the cops come by later, I'm going to ask him if this guy's been doing this all along. Just dump. You know how inconsiderate some people are? Just dump. No problem. Oh, the guy's got a red car. Let's see if we can see the license plate number. I'm not sure we can see it here. Nah, he's going to get away with this right now. Anyway, back to modeling. Yeah. You believe this field is unbelievable? Toxic waste one day. And you know what the ultimate thing? They won't let us fly here all summer because we might be inconvenient to these pool people. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So anyway, back to the thing. What I'm going to do is let the camera run while I'm out in the middle of the circle, only to look at where I might be and what happened the first time or second time I did this. I noticed something. You know, Michael Jordan used to do this when he'd shoot a basket. I was doing that on half of my maneuvers, and I was wondering, I wonder if judges think that I'm sticking my tongue out at them. But you never know. If you videotape yourself, you'll see. Some people, and they're flying and this hand is doing this, and some people got their hand like they're praying to Allah, and it never hurts to run the camera and take a look, and I always find something. In fact, that's what I'm going to do for the next flight. I'm just going to take a look at what maybe I can pick up something that'll help me. Now, one of the things I always look for when I'm doing squares too is just before I enter into it, if the wind is blowing or if it's turbulent or if I don't know where the wind is, I take a step into it, start the first leg, and try to step back so it guarantees that I'm not going to wind up on the last corner going through my own air. I'm trying to think of what else. I got to look at the video because I got to see this overhead 8 thing is still a pain. And it's the final loop that gets out of control, and I don't know why I lose my perspective or whatever. But you know what? It's getting so hot today. It's time to get the flannel shirt off, get the sunscreen on, and it's absolutely turning out to be a beautiful day. I don't want to lose this day, but I do want to learn from it too. But this is what happens when you go through a day. It's about 45, 46. It's 60 now. It looks like it's going to be a cooker, but this is when I get the sunscreen on. I never compromise that sunscreen, ever. I know I've said this before, but sunscreen, in the past, I had been casual about it, and I'm going to repeat this as many times even for my own benefit. I had been casual about it, and a couple of summers ago, both Rich Jacobone, who had very serious skin issues, the kind that can kill you, and I had some of the kind that really don't kill you, but they don't get better in time either. And since that time, I've become a big customer of sunscreen. And with all the trips to Texas and all these trips to Brodax and Muncie, when I see some of the people all cooked up like lobsters, boy, this as inconvenient as it is, and you feel greasy and everything, I don't care. It's like the oil and the fuel. When you need it, the day you need it, you're glad you have it. You know, and the funny truth is, not everything that we do is plane related. It's motor related and body position related and practice related. There's so many skills involved in flying a stunt pattern. Now, because of where the sun actually is, we're really super limited here. If I move the camera to a little bit better position, what's going to happen is you're going to get blocked out by the sun. But I would, after that body position thing, I just would like to get a couple of flights for me to look at. And the conditions are that the air is dead. We're going to be moving back, going to be backing up and moving. This is not an ideal time to be putting that second triangle right at 4 feet. Now there's a good example of using some of that body English, and if you look at that flight, just if you can, just look at where I'm backing up. The conditions are not gonna, I don't think they're gonna change. We're pretty much locked into this. It's moving, it's dead, but I still want to fly, and this is one of the conditions you could have if you're a big trophy hound. This could be something that happens at a contest. But I think you really do learn things like this. Now another thing, if you notice, I don't know, I usually don't put the landings on the video, but what I used to tell Mike Kajeski and Brian, when you fly with a Stooge, you can gauge how good a guy is by how close the plane gets to the Stooge when he lands. If you got to walk a half a circle, you're dragging the lines and everything. Well, this plane has a beautiful glide ratio, so you can almost just bring it right up, almost like a carrier deck landing. I'm not so sure that's the way we should be doing it. All right, John is here. Time to fly. John is here. Now, you never can be sure where to position the camera, but I'm trying to get it in a position, and obviously where the sun is not a factor. Well, lots of luck here. Hey, Johnny!
can see on that flight. Pretty exciting, the air moving around. But you can see why it's important to always have that step. Always be ready to step back on a moment's notice, because here you are, you're doing outside loops and you can feel the wind moving. And you go, oh, now what do I do? Oh, but if you back up that step or two, you at least can, well, in that last flight, the outside loops, the wind moved right in the middle of them. So, and the other thing too that, well, we know because we've seen it at various contests and at big contests and small contests, you can't move the judges a half a circle between maneuvers. It's impossible. So sometimes it's better to get it downwind and do the backup thing. But Rich is supposed to be coming down real soon. I'm going to get one more flight and then get off the field for these guys. Because when Rich comes down, he's got limited time from this property thing he's working on. And I know he's going to want to work on his Stuka and get some flights while we have a sunny day, because it's supposed to rain at lunchtime.
this session, and I hope we've been able to pass it on.
Now here's something we're all jealous of. 85 years old and flying every day. And if I make it, God bless everybody that takes care of their health. This guy's, he doesn't fly bad. It's just these planes are made out of sheetrock, I think, instead of balsa wood. Just when you thought it was safe, T-Rex's little brother comes by. Look at this. Right while we're trying to fly. Thing's making noise and hitting rocks and everything over there. Holy moly. We have another treat. Raul the terrorist is here to terrorize birds and geese all over Bergen County. The one, the only, Raul the terrorist. Let's see what he's got today. He's always got something terrorizing the population at large. Now, before you ever launch a speed model, you got these nice little earplugs, because this guy will kill you with the sound.
Are you sure you went to stunt school?
Let me open.
Well, I'm not going to do it. I wasn't going to touch it. I don't get involved in terrorism.
The man is unbelievable.
This sounds like it's too lean, Raul.
Yeah?
Too lean.
Too lean, you know.
You know, a guy that's on the FAI team should know how to set a needle. My God, Dub Jet's going to be embarrassed when he sees this.
No.
Can't believe it. What's happening? Yeah, it was lean when I let it go. You want me to richen it up if it goes lean? What kind of fuel is that?
Same fuel you use.
Rojet fuel?
All right.
Another lean run. Now, I put the plane on the other side of the field. You can see where the stooge is. Getting a little leery here. Every time, and I'm not sure this is not a miracle. Yeah, John's getting a crappy air too. Every time we've started John's plane today, he's got about 5 flights. The battery comes off as soon as the motor starts. We tried starting it upside down. We tried starting it right side up. We tried holding it up. We put a new glow plug in, we put 2 washers under the glow plug, and we use 3 different batteries. No matter what you do, as soon as the motor starts, the glow plug falls off. And what I figured is happening is because the nose construction, and he's not no-cal and there's no support there, what happens is, and I'm thinking this might be a good tip, when you have a battery issue, soon as the motor starts, the nose starts and the battery comes off. Now, most of the time, it's not a problem, but if the plane is on the ground, and twice today, the prop was within 1/4 of an inch of the battery, and John reaches right down and tries to get the battery, and I've been real careful, but I'm getting nervous. I'm thinking we ought to come up with a cure for this battery falling off, and I'm going to record it at least one more time today if John does another one of these starts, because it is scary. And no matter what battery we put on, even my battery comes off, and I'm not sure, but I'm thinking, we try to narrow this down today, I'm thinking that because the nose is all oil soaked on this, and probably the bolt holes I know are all elongated, that it shakes so bad when it fires that the battery just jumps off. And it's not funny, it's something that could come back to get you. I'm going to try to record it later in the day, but we're waiting for Rich, but I don't know if Rich is getting here. He's, you know, big money never sleeps. One of the goals I had with this plane, and I've achieved it, I think, or hopefully have, is at the end of the day, never having to wipe a bunch of oil off it. Boy, this thing stays whistle clean, possibly with the exception of the wheels and the tail wheel from the dirt that gets on it from the field. And you can see the kind of mud we fly in here, and it's a pleasure at the end of the day. We've had a good day. We're gonna go see what Karen would like to do this afternoon. So back at the shop, I know this handle is, I took all the grip tape and everything off. This handle is going to be fine, and I just wanted to paint it up. It's actually, when I got back from the field today, I turned on the Weather Channel and they said rain this afternoon again. It's a bright sunny day. Actually, I should have stayed at the field a little longer. But I wanted to get another coat of silver on this. I want to get this set up in the next couple of days. There's a lot of little detail things I want to take care of. And then if I do have time, and I doubt it because I got a ton of mail over there, what I want to do is set up that 4-blade prop mold. But that's the lowest of the priority things. I want all the things that I can use right away. Just, well, having 2 handles and 2 sets of lines, it may sound funny, but believe me, the day you need it, like a spare tire. Oh, this stuff in this bright sun, it really sparkles up. I suspect it's going to be dry in 10 minutes, and I want to, well, look at this. This is the day it's supposed to rain. Some rain. You know, I wish I could make some money predicting the weather. And the way you do it is you listen to the weather report, and then whatever they say, it's exactly the opposite. And you win every time. Now the paint is drying tonight. I'll work on this tomorrow. I Put that Bobby Brookins silver on there. Actually, I took one of the spare props. Made up a silver prop. Just no reason, just I like to have one each color. Helps me identify which is working the best. So far we're in love with the two red ones. And we've got one that's too fast and one too slow, but I like having them all. And I like the way we got the decals that John Pothia made up on a handle that match the plane. We also got some real neat stuff here, and I don't know, this is bat tape. I picked this up at Sports Authority the last time I was there. Some of this, the grip tape. I thought how cute to have red grip tape, and some black just in case one doesn't work. And every time I'm at the field somebody borrows my grip tape anyway. And I gotta look at if this bat tape, see, because I never know the final feel of the handle in my hand. And since I've already flown this handle, I know this is going to be close to what I want. I know exactly where the cable is going to be. It'll just be a question of verifying that neutral is back where I want it to be. But that paint, that Bobby Brookins silver, B25 silver, that Bobby mixed just for this plane, boy, that is. And you can buy this direct from Brodak. This is a color that Bob did the development on, and you can buy it. It's called B25 silver for anybody that wants to match it up. Now I also got from Bob Brookins, I got the 2-part, this is for painting the carbon fiber props, but I wanted to paint a wood prop too, except I don't have any more wood props. But that one that we painted with the dope didn't stick to the primer real well. That was not a fact of sticking to the wood, it wasn't sticking to primer. I don't think I let the primer dry long enough. But we got one little project finished up tonight. And anytime I can get one little step ahead, I'm hoping tomorrow's going to be flyable. But you know, right now it's clouding up. It's looking like it's going to rain tomorrow. It won't matter. We'll work on our prop. And this is what I love about this time of year. If it's a flyable day, plan A. No flyable day, we'll be making that big first 4-blade layup. There's always something to do in this shop. Or we can cast up some more gear, or we can finish the two tune pipes that we've been working on for a couple of days. There's always something to do on a flyable day, and always something to do on a no flyable day. Amazing. Or if all else fails, we'll just take one of the planes off the wall and wax it. It's that kind of a shop. Always fun to work here. And Enzo the rooster is thinking, when the hell are they going to plant these things? You know what? It's been so cold at night. We've been afraid of the frost, and we've asked a lot of people who do know these things, and they said hold off a little while. And of course, the person who knows the most about planting is Enzo the rooster. I think you made the right choice, Enzo. Don't put the flannel shirts away. And we had such a nice morning. Look at the way this day deteriorated, and it's supposed to be a big storm coming. Oh my God. And when it blows like this, it usually means tomorrow's going to be shot. Oh my God. Oh, what unpredictable weather we've had. It's all Al Gore's fault too. Oh. Hope I didn't let the feeder get too empty. Boy, that could really be a tragedy. Anyway, we're just going to wait and see. As we have to. We don't really have a choice. And see what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. Always a surprise. Look at this. We start the day off. A C-130 flies over the house at 1,000 feet. Oh, it start the day, end the day. Hard to believe. Just as I'm thinking the weather, I hope the weather's going to be nicer tomorrow. And I hope it's better tomorrow. And I guess I mentioned before, the fledgies have already fledged, and they're in this tree now. And I can see the mother and father are taking them back and forth, back and forth. They have to learn. There they go. And look at this guy up here. What does he think he is, an owl? Sitting on my house? What do you think you're in? You think you're at Bruce Hunt's house? Are you kidding me? Well, they predicted rain this morning. Listen to these fledgies. Look at these birds up here. There are fledgies everywhere. Listen to them. several of the little nestlet, there's birds on the house. Several of them that were in where that drain pipe is have fledged, and we've been watching them all morning. They're in this tree. There goes one right now. There's another one on the floor. The first batch of fledgies has fledged. Now, the only bad thing about this rainy day is there's really only one more day we get to use Palisade Park, and then we have to pull in the barrels for the year. But in the time that we had available, I think we've used it pretty efficiently and learned a lot about our Spitfire. But from that point on, we'll be having to go to alternative fields, which certainly in our case are not quite as productive. So what do we do on a rainy day? We have our silver prop now, which is adding to our collection of 16.4s. I want to make sure it's rough balanced. I've sanded the last coat of clear with 1500. Whoop, as he knocks it over. So we're going to use this last day, and well, tomorrow will be the last day of flying at Pal Park. And the thing is, Pal Park is really, for doing testing and prop testing and the things that I like to do, it's really excellent. The Circle Burner field is, well, less challenging. More challenging in terms of trying to deal with the air coming over the trees and flying off grass and things like that. And the nice thing about Pal Park is we can use it real early in the morning, which I like the idea. We can get up early in the morning and work on it, work on our equipment, and then have that big time swing where a temperature change, which really you really don't get that. If you start at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, the temperature doesn't change that much, at least not in this part of the country. The air density doesn't change that much, so you're really learning in smaller increments about what works when and what your, well, all of the variables. Now, I want to make sure every step of the way here as I'm doing this with the Gorhams that I haven't disturbed the balance. We now have, let's see, we got a black, red, we have 4 of these. Actually, it's got a pretty nice finish on it too. But having them different colors, of course, is just one way of identifying them. I could put numbers on them or mark them in some other way. That's certainly going to be good enough now. The other little project I wanted to work on, I want to finish up the handle, the spare handle, and get that finished painted today and buffed out. The next little job I wanted to do before we lay up the prop, I got the paint on the handle. I need to get rid of this, get the bolt out, see how that grip tape's going to work. First I want to get the cable, and I'll measure it exactly off the position it was. Now I can do it one of 2 ways. I can count down, I was so many holes from the top, or I can count the total spacing, or both. Since I've already flown this handle, all I'm going to have to do then is just reset neutral. Now, we made up years ago when I started the business, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, we made up, and I remember making them, probably 300 or 400 of these handles. Bob Martens made some up. John DeTavio actually made some up. And we were making them down at the machine shop when we were working with Joe Kay. And to this day, this is the handle I'm used to using. And it's got a positive adjustment, no screws. The only screw in the handle is the one that holds the cable. And I always recommend to people, every year before you start the flying season, put a brand new cable in. Because right here, if you don't radius this off just real nice and smooth, right here is where the cable will fail. And you should always, especially if you don't move the cable over the course of a season, it's going to work that one area right there. So it's always good, even if you're not going to change the cable setting, clip one end and move it through just so you don't have another bend point. It moves the bend point out. Now what I always like to do is take short screws, and since I've already used this handle already, I took the screws out while I was painting it. put screws and or washers on here. Sometimes the washers make the screws stick up too much, but when I drag this handle across the parking lot, this to some degree protects it. And I put 8 of them, 1 in each corner. Now with all the screws installed like this, see what this allows us to do. You drop this down. When I'm flying with the Stooge, you can drag it across the parking lot, drag it, or just drop it. And you don't really chew up the paint, hopefully. And that feels real nice. Now I have several different kinds of grip tape to use on this. Of course, on a smaller plane, a lighter plane, you might want to have no grip tape. You know, but here's what happens if you don't have grip tape. Your hand's moving around and then it's sliding up and down. The grip tape is almost like when you put your hand in there. This should be a tight fit. There's no clearance top and bottom. When you squeeze, it should almost hurt a little bit. And the grip tape lets you customize that grip. Now I carve it in first, just rough carve it in. But the grip tape lets you get a final feel for it. Oh, I got these 3 kinds of grip tape that I bought at Sports Authority. The Wilson stuff has no glue on the back, so I wanted to try this anyway. This has a nice grippy feel and it's nice soft rubber. But where it ends, you've got to hot stuff it down. So, and it looks like you get enough. See, that what they want you to do is, where's the other end? Like on a tennis racket, I guess it just glues with that little strip of glue, but for our use, this is better, I think. And I just got to cut a hole for the handle, for the that I can get in and loosen the screw, of course. Now, I always like to start off where this feels a little smaller than it should be, and then if I don't like it, I can add a layer. I can just put, in this case, I can just put a second layer right on top of this if I want to, right at the field. But that feels pretty good right now. So I'm going to give this a try before I go any further. And the last thing is, I want to get, and because they pull test these at several contests, I want to use the a really good solid, the thong that we all seem to have adapted to over the years. Now these are the ones that Roger Ladd made. We used to have a bunch of them. I'm down to the last few here. But what this does, you obviously put that on your wrist. I think this is some kind of material that he gets. It comes from England, but you could just email or call Roger Ladd, see if he still makes them. Anyway, that handle feels good, looks good. Anyway, that's one more project. Now we have, of course, when we go back to fly, if we get to fly tomorrow, the only issue we're going to have is to reset neutral. Now the next thing we're going to do here, and we've been waiting for a rainy day, or a day that I had a big block of time, because this is going to be a prototype prop. And what happens with a prototype, I don't know how much material is going to go in each blade yet. I have a rough idea from doing Doran's mold. But what I need to do, the first step, the mold is all prepped, waxed, and PVA'd. And the first pull is really like a prototype plane, in the fact that I need to know how much material is going to go in there. And if I can figure that out pretty close before I close the mold, if in doubt, I'm just going to put more material and let it ooze out until I know. But the idea of videotaping it is that I can keep track of. I can always look back at the video and see how many strips, long strips, short, and medium. Usually there's 3 lengths of strip and then some material that has to go around the hub. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to prep up that material and get the material ready. Now the one thing I'm not sure of, and I don't know for sure, is if I'm going to need to put locating pins in this, or if this is just going to close up the way I hope it will. I want to see if this kind of locks in. And what I'm going to do is, for my own reference, put it, well, I can do it over here. in case the locking pins are necessary. See, I can always put, always drill a hole in each corner and put 4 pins like I have in the center. But that just adds one more thing that can get clogged up with epoxy and everything. Okay, so that's my reference. I have an X. Where's the X? The X is on the X blade. And that's the reference there. So we've got some references for when we clamp this together. Now I usually have, and I save all the scraps from making other carbon parts, because here's one of the things, one of the places you can use a lot of these up. In fact, I have a lot from making up props last year. And let's see if I have enough of these. I'm going to start counting these out. Because this is a 15-inch prop, I don't know if these are going to be long enough. Oh yeah, fine. Bingo. So I'm going to count these out. And you can see how many I have. I used to use 12 Endurance prop. Now this is a wider blade, thicker. I'm going to start with 15 per cross. I mean 30 pieces of each, the long ones, 30 of each. Okay, we got all our strips of, and of course this is just a guesstimate of how much we're going to need. Next thing is to mix up the EPON, get the gloves on, and get ready. Now what I'm going to try to do, because it's a prototype, and I don't know how much goes in here, I have some little pieces for the hub, some smaller pieces just to fill in, and I'm assuming, just taking that I'm going to go 15 long. As I start building this up, I'm going to have to see. And then when we pull the first one out, see where it oozed out the most and how much oozed out, and then keep some notes on it. But even in the worst of all worlds, we'll hopefully get a prototype prop that we can use to test and start setting a pitch and engine load with. And again, we can make this just a hair more than 15 inches. It'll allow us, of course, to make a 14-inch wide blade, a 14.5. It gives us a lot of choices that we don't have if you start with a 14-inch prop. Now, some of the tricks that I learned, and this isn't really a trick, it's the way you're supposed to do it, is I mix this with a steel rod, and then when I think it's mixed enough, I mix it 2 minutes more. Never mix EPON with a wood stick or one of those tongue depressors. Something steel, get it mixed. And the ratio is relatively critical. It's not like 5-minute epoxy. So everything has to be done with a gram scale. Now I'm going to start this whole deal. And again, I'm going to try to be very careful about this. But there's a, you know, on a prototype, we don't know where this is going to be difficult to get everything to lay and where it's going to be relatively easy. But of course, we'll start with wetting out the mold. And usually the hardest part to get is in by the hub to get everything to just lay in the direction that you want it to. Again, this is not a real pro mold. This is a relatively crude mold that we're going to hopefully get a few props out of that we can get some kind of final design on. Now, I want to put in the little center pieces first. Now you have about a 45-minute window of time to work, so I don't want to squander it away here. And it gets, well, the first one is always an adventure. It's always something. There's always some place you put it left, neither not enough or too much or something. But I know in here we'd like to build this up. That's a difficult area. And I want to keep it very wet. And I don't care how much flashing comes off of this because we're going to trim it anyway. Okay, so we got the center hub built up with the cross weave. And now the fun parts. And laying these pieces in can get tricky. But again, we want the maximum strength being tip to tip. And I haven't found a better way of getting them in a mold than just barehanded. We're going to need extra material down in that hub area. I can see that already. The idea is to make sure everything is wet with epoxy before we close the mold and squeeze out all the extra. Okay, now we've got the first one in on that side. The idea is to crisscross these to build some strength if possible. That's why absolutely everything has to be cut ahead of time and ready to go. Now we can start filling the middle of the mold, hopefully. Get this laid in relatively straight. Again, the goal here is to get all the strength tip to tip. Now the idea of doing this is, in a perfect world, if we were at Boeing, let's say, is to get more than half of the weight to be carbon. Not the volume, the weight. And a lot of times you can't do that if you don't have pre-preg or molds that close real accurately. And that gets, both of those things get very expensive. What we're doing, we're working with a technology that's relatively inexpensive to what this would be if we were, well, if we were working in Boeing or an aircraft place or someplace that did this in a relatively high-tech, money is no object environment. Well, we're exactly the opposite of money is no object. This is money is the object. Anyway, what a shame we're going to lose our field tomorrow. Today is the last. It's the end of the era. And we have used the time, I think, very efficiently that we had there. And I'm able to get quite a bit of testing done under in that field. So I'm trying to get this to lay right out in the end. It's going to ooze out no matter what I do, so. Now, I'm trying to estimate if I've got enough carbon in there. Not sure I do. But I want to start putting in maybe 2 on each, the shorter pieces, because the blade thickness changes as we go out to the tip. The idea is not to get any spot on this reel dry. That's, of course, the objective. Now we've got a couple of short ones here to deal with. In fact, I want to put some of the shorter ones in. I don't want all of these ends to end at the same spot. I want them to be more random possible. The more random, the better, of course. And each time I lay these in, I want to get this out. So need to work it up into the mold, into where we're getting the most strength here. Now I know we're going to need some little pieces to fill in the hub. I've already got those pre-cut. These are just hub fillers. And I'm trying to keep everything random. I don't want all these pieces to end at the same spot. Like weaving a basket, I guess. Now, if you're doing props to sell to people, obviously the answer is you want to keep a minimum amount of carbon so they're very inexpensive to make, so you can make a profit. But we're not looking to make a profit here. We're looking to make some high-tech stuff. So our motives are, we don't care how much carbon is going to go into this, because we're only going to make a limited amount, and hopefully they're going to last a real long time. Why does that sound like some kind of an advertisement you'd hear by Billy Mays on TV? And again, the idea is to keep everything wet. Don't want any dry spots inside the prop, especially out at the tip, where it's really critical. Now, one thing we can almost guarantee is that every one of the props we make is going to get better than the one before, but those first ones, you really have to tough it out. Now the last thing I do, and we got most of the toe in here already, is really wet this out now. Now I really have to wet this out. And now I want to put a final layer of carbon tip to tip before I close the mold. I want to kind of get myself in as much as I can, because whatever's extra is going to ultimately ooze out anyway. And like any prototype thing, you've got to be prepared that, well, not every one is going to work. That's the reality of prototyping. Okay, I think we're coming up on time to close the mold. Now I need one other thing here. Try to get a flat piece right down the center. It doesn't need to go tip to tip, that piece. Now just as a, I guess, overkill, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to put some extra, and I know it's going to ooze out, but I can tell by how much oozes out how thick this has to be. This is kind of overkilling it, but that's okay. I just don't want to have a part of the prop be all resin without a good supply of carbon in there.
Now we could actually work this right up to the point that the resin gets jello-y, which is, we're not there yet. But the problem would be, the minute you feel the resin starting to get thick and jello-y, better close the mold or you're going to be throwing this part away. Trying to push everything up back into that little ditch that we have. And we're certainly going to have a lot of flashing on this prop, but I don't care. Because this will be the first 14-inch, 15-inch 4-blade. And I'm just wondering, like in the case right now, I wish I could run 17-inch props, but I'm having trouble with ground clearance on the 16s. And at some point in time, the gear just get very unscale-like. But that means it's time to add blades. And by the way, there's no other way I can think of to do it. Get that piece of schmutz out of there. Get that out. I think that's looking pretty good. That's looking as good as we're going to get it. Now what I'm hoping is I can shut this mold, put weights on it or clamp it, whichever looks like it's going to work the best. And then this has to dry. Okay, that looks like, well, looks like it's time to close the mold. Now let's make sure we got X to X, X to X. And we want to line up this line. Now I have two choices here. I can put a lot of weight on this, or I can get clamps. It looks like it's closing pretty decently. Wow. Actually it looks better than I thought it would. What should we do? Clamps? Let's see if I have some clamps. Now I can feel as I put the clamps on. See, this is where it would be a good idea to have a pin here because I don't want this to twist. But I can feel it wants to twist when I tighten this. And boy, I can see a lot of resin oozing out as I get these on. The idea here is not to put a side force on this. Well, I can see it's oozing out now. Yeah, I'm going to have to think of how I want to pin this. Because I don't want that moving. It didn't move yet, but it would be, well. Ooh, here it goes. You can see, let me see if we can focus in on this. Look down here. Let's see if this works. You can see this oozing out as we clamp the mold shut. There it comes. And the thing is to go around the mold little by little, tightening each one like the same way you tighten the head on a motor. Now this is one of the little things I learned working with Doran's mold, and I think I passed on to him. You can see all the epoxy oozes out. Well, here's the problem. If we let this dry, we got to scrape that out and scratch it and kill ourselves to get it out. Well, if we do this, and this is a great trick. You can use silicone, you can use WD-40, you can use whatever you want, because nothing now is going to hurt that mold, and we're going to have to re-clean this and PVA it. So I can carefully do this. Get all of that resin out. Any resin you get out now is you one step ahead of the game. And then there's the final tip. And
Just saves work prepping the mold the next time we use it. Get rid of this. Get a couple more towels. Because I don't want anything sticking to the outside of the mold right now. And the WD-40 is a good silicone wax release agent. Anything you can do to get rid of, just make cleaning that mold a lot easier. If you do it, it's like pay me now, pay me later. Because this has to sit. Now if this were a sunny day, I'd put this out in the sun just to get it to dry, but otherwise it's going to sit 24 hours in a mold. And then once this is out, I have two choices. I can post-cure it right in the mold, since this mold fits right in the oven. 212 degrees for 2 hours, and then pull it apart. And hopefully, we're going to even have a usable prop. Now that should make prepping the mold reasonable anyway. Now I can just retorque everything down. And that's pretty much going to sit there for 24 hours. Well, that's going to sit right under our heating vent. I put it up on a can so I get a little more. And I'm not sure the heat is even going to kick on today, but it was started out real cold. And as the day's going on, it's warming up. We may even see the sun later today, but 24 hours in the mold, and then we'll come back to it. Well, we sure not missing a flying day here. Oh man, but at least, hey, at least we're getting some of these little things. And the other thing I wanted to do is start this, another little project I want to do is this Veco type tank that I wanted to make. Now one of the things I wanted to set up if I could, you may remember, and I did this with all spare parts that I had, and I've got pieces and parts and everything, but I've got enough parts now to make up what amounts to be, I'm going to make a baffle in step one. That's what the internals of the tank are going to look like. So it'll be a baffled area. I call it a Veco because old Veco tanks had a similar baffle. Now I want to find out, before I even start this, I want to figure out where I want to put I want to have a hole top and bottom so we obviously can fill a tank. So I need to drill those holes now, and one right in the middle, and maybe one up top here before I start anything. And I also, the next step is going to be grinding this down, because this will get attached with JB Weld, and once it dries, then I'll finish off the edges. Okay, so the next step on this, and I ground this all down, put in a hole at the very back of the tank so it'll tend to empty this into the little compartment. And again, I don't know if this is going to be worth the little extra effort, but I have to think when Veco came out with this design, it would have added extra money to make the tanks that way. Maybe there was a benefit that I don't know about. And in the worst of all worlds, it never hurts to have a baffle, because you don't have the sloshing of the fuel around like you do in an unbaffled tank. So we'll just see. This is going to be something, this is like what I call a rainy day project anyway. But now the challenge, and this is, when I put the JB Weld on here to make the body, I can clamp it here, but then it doesn't clamp in here. So what I wanted to do is get a block of some kind, maybe even a piece of scrap balsa in here, and then I can put this in a vise. What it'll do, it'll just give me a better pressure along the edge, on the whole edge in one piece. Because making up this body is the nuts and bolts, the foundation of the tank. And for sure, before you do any JB welding, that's got to be rough, Dremel tool rough. Okay, so I found a piece of wood that it's a nice tight fit here. And now with this piece can go on here, and I can put it right in a vise and clamp it right over that joint. Hopefully get the pressure right against the whole joint, because I need this to be 2.7 max. So I can slide this in and out. I've got it just rough marked. and I'm going to try to make that joint, of course, as solid as possible. Now what I want to do is get, this is one of the critical joints of making a tank body, so I want to get a better way to clamp it than the way we did the one that's in the plane right now. And also I want to have a spare tank anyway, and the tank in the plane is just a little bit too big. I could get away with an ounce less of fuel, but it's always easier if you have a big tank. See, I'm tempted to make an ounce smaller tank, and as soon as I do, I'll find out that I need a bigger tank. See, these are the tricks you fall for. And the trick is not to fall for them over and over again too many times. Now, this is one of the things, if you ever use JB Weld on composite parts, you've really got to scuff them. You can't just sand it with 320 paper. It's either a Dremel tool or 80, they say in the directions, 80 grit paper. And that's true for all composite joining of any composite parts. You never just join two fiberglass parts. You always scuff them up. And actually, the rougher the better. Now this is one way I wanted to show this. And anytime you do this kind of a joint, is the other part of this, is get the JB Weld on both parts. Don't just assume, oh, it'll just ooze down there. It doesn't. But this is how I've done the JB Weld tank joints. And a nice thing about all of these carbon fiber tank parts, if they ever leak, you can just fix them with JB Weld right at the field if you have 5 minutes, even though I'd prefer taking it back to the shop, but I have done it right at the field. Kent Tyser had some emergency repair at the Nats. I don't remember when he crashed his plane, and we fixed it right then and there. No big deal at all. And of course there's no rust and no corrosion coming out of these tanks, which can or cannot be to your advantage. And always, anytime you do a composite part, and JB Weld, just a little bit of heat. If you see bubbles, you know you've made it too hot. You don't want to make it super hot, but a little bit of, what it does, it makes it a little thinner in viscosity, and it gets a little better penetration into those micro scratches. Now this will be nice if we can, whatever oozes out, we're going to get Q-tips on. As soon as I get it set, I'm going to get it in a vise. Okay, so that can sit in a vise. That can sit there overnight. But there's no end to these little projects that I've always, you know, I save them all for a rainy day. And when I get one, I always have a list, 3, 4, 5 little projects. And these are all on the list.